How's everybody doing today? Okay. Tony Pfau here with Lincoln Real Estate Group. We've got our panel today to discuss the impact of the coronavirus on our Denver market. We've been watching it over the last week, and we've got a lot of stuff to share with you. I mean, like, wow, what a week, huh? Everything's kind of upside down in everybody's worlds, but I'm going to bring in our all-star panel here, and we'll introduce you guys and say hi. And so here we are. Upper left is our fearless leader, Jen Erzinger, who runs Lincoln Real Estate. And on next to her is Pam Wandry, our guest from Columbine Mortgage, who's going to have some great stuff for us. And Schabacher, another one of Jen's agents, like me, and of course me. Who needs no introduction.
Needs no introduction, of
no
course.
introduction, yeah. So at any rate, wow. Now, I don't know. Let's just start this out with something here. I mean, Ann, you had something happen this last week. Why don't you tell us about it? I mean, everything was kind of shut down. Nobody knew what was going on here. And there we go. Yeah.
That is our first time home buyers who closed on Friday, and my first drive-by signee. That is where you pull into the parking garage and they hand your papers through the window.
I'll be darned. So again, problem solving, we got it done. Now I heard there's some other things that have changed during this week. We got. We have e-notarizing going on, and was it Jen? Is it you told me that one of the title companies was doing virtual closings?
Well, right after on Saturday, Governor Polis signed an executive order asking for whoever's in charge, the Secretary of State, to come up with new guidance rules so we don't have to appear in person to close. We can only notarize in person, which was causing a lot of these drive-by closings, people closing in obscure places, because a notary has to be present when you're signing our docs to make them legal. So the order went on Saturday, and the Secretary of State and everybody hammered out the guidance rules, and they came out yesterday afternoon around 5 o'clock. So, each title company is going to be doing something different. They're going to interpret this differently, but basically the big takeaway is that all interactions have to be recorded. I thought that was the most interesting piece of all of this.
Wow.
Everything else will be worked out, but that was it has to be recorded and for later viewing if something were to come up.
Yeah, it's wow. So little changes going on there, and
Yeah.
Pam, a bit of a roller coaster for you guys going on this week. We'll talk about this in another segment for you guys just tuning in. We're gonna go visit the market, and then we'll talk about financing, and then during the course of the whole thing, we'll be responding to your questions and comments. Now, if you're commenting on one of the feeder pages from Pam or Jen or Ann's sites, we're kind of watching those. Might take us a few minutes to get to them. If you're commenting on the Lincoln Real Estate Group livecast sites, I'll see those live, and so we'll do the best we can to kind of pull those together. But yeah, what are you thinking? How's financing world going, Pam?
It's been a little crazy over the past week. We'll talk more, but the Fed stepped up, as you guys know. We talked a little bit last week, and uncapped their limits on buying back bonds. So that kind of helped a little bit towards the end of the week on Friday and yesterday. But my quick check this morning, and rates were kind of back up around 3.625 this morning for a vanilla 30-year. But we'll get into more about what's going on. It's changing constantly all day long. Just lots of changes.
Yeah. Good. Well, I think now we're going to take a look and see if we got any comments here. I haven't seen anything come in yet, but it takes a little bit of time to get everybody watching. And thank you all for watching. And again, if there's anything any of us can do for anybody out there, please reach out. We're all in this together, and if you need some help, somebody needs some help, get in touch, and and we can step up for that. And we'd love to hear what your concerns are. I know one of the bigger concerns that I've had just talking to neighbors while I'm keeping, the distance going and out walking the dog is they're like, what's going to happen to housing? What's going to happen to housing? So it's kind of the reason we wanted to put this together for you guys out there. But so I think what we'll do is talk to, let's see, Jen, what did, I think we'll probably have you kind of give us a little bit of a overview on what you've seen in the active market anyway. I mean, this is, or not the active market, but the homes that are going under contract. And I should, for our audience, values we aren't going to get a handle on because it takes 30 to 60 days to close the properties, and so we aren't seeing what happens on the sale. So right now what we're looking at is the information we have readily available, the active listings, the numbers that are going under contract, how many people are withdrawing, that kind of stuff. So with that, I'm gonna bring Jen up here, and hopefully we can get to her screen. Oops. All right, so let's do this and do that. There's Jen. Okay, good.
So we had a lot of activity this weekend, even with the roller coaster of real estate being deemed essential, critical. We were way up and down every order that went out last week. It was a roller coaster. We'll put it that way. But the big takeaway from the weekend is, and the 5 days, so this was Thursday to yesterday, 706 of our homes went under contract, and not that many more went active. So what we can infer from that is if you're going up on Thursday, Friday, and going back under Sunday, Monday, you're probably getting list price, if not more. So very strong, very, very strong weekends.
Good.
On the under contract.
Now, how does that look? Let's go to the, let me get to the right thing here. So here's the pendings graph year to year. How's that looking to you? So
last March 2019, we had 4,983 units go under contract, whereas we still have another day, of course, but as of yesterday, we had 4,492 go pending. So yeah, we're down a little bit, but that's still those are very strong numbers considering everything that's been going on for the last 3 weeks.
Right.
So that's encouraging.
That is encouraging. Well, and I think we were all expecting to see a big shock, and things going on. And then, so let's see, Ann, I think we can, this is Ann Schaubacher, I think we'll talk to her about, the inventory that we're seeing, because like when this first came out, I was like, this is going to fall off a cliff, and then it just didn't. And so, what's your thoughts, Ann?
Well, when you look at the numbers for the active listings, those are listings that just came on the market or that are on the market, not necessarily just came on. But right now we have 4,990 active listings in the Denver metro area. That's still a very healthy, yet short supply of inventory. And when you look at the numbers compared from March of 2019, we had 7,758 active listings compared to right now we have 6,924 active listings. We're kind of down on active listings, and that's going to continue to keep pressure on this inventory and on the market, and therefore on housing prices. We're not headed towards any kind of crunch as far as the numbers and what you can expect to sell your home for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good indicator. I do. Something also to point out is the homes that have withdrawn. So we had properties that were active on the market, and 250 of them withdrew Thursday to Monday, which is that's a higher number. And not all of those are going to be COVID-19 related, but it is higher. And I think we can expect some of those units to come back up on the market once things settle down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tell you, of course, we're still so new into this. I mean, I'm going to show a graph here in a second where we track what had happened when the governor put the shelter in place or the shutdown thing. And I was like, oh, man, this is everything's just going to stop. And then 2 days into it, I'm like, well, this is still going. And I'm like, wait a minute, am I the only one hunkered down in the basement? I mean, but let me see if I can get to the screen here. So this is I've been tracking, one of the things we have on the MLS is a view of some of the things that are critical to us in a 3-day, 5-day, 7-day window. So I had been tracking like what's been happening on the 7 days. Now, right here is where, and I'm looking at the pendings, the things that have gone under contract. Right here is where the shelter in place went in, and I thought, oh, I was expecting this thing to drop way down, but as you can see. I mean, the trend line is down on the amount of pendings. Now, that could be just typical. We're getting to the end of the month, but we're down maybe 10% in the number of pendings, but that's not a real steep line like I would have expected to see. And then interesting, on the green line here is the number of listings that came on over the last 7 days, and obviously it's kind of leveling the numbers out with that 7-day window, but yeah, so 991 listings had come on the previous 7 days, March 24th, 870 from the previous 7 days from today. So okay, so there's less listings coming on. We would expect that. But the surprising thing, and I thought this is the thing I think should give people hope, is that this pending sales line didn't take a huge crash down here. It's still kind of holding up. Yeah, we would expect it to slow down a little bit, but yeah, that was the takeaway on that.
I think that further strengthens the point that people need housing, and this is why we are considered a critical industry.
Well, right.
People have to move, and for whatever circumstance that they may be in, good, bad, or indifferent, housing is important.
Well, yeah, housing's important, and things are still. I mean, despite all of the, I mean, it really has been a roller coaster. I mean, between the stimulus coming out, the what are we going to do? Is there any toilet paper at the store? What about my job? I mean, just trying to keep up during the course of a day. I mean, whatever you see in the morning, I mean, check in again in the afternoon because it's fast moving. It's a moving target, like Jen said. But yeah. So I mean, the thing is, to keep this going, we got to have fuel for the car, and in real estate, man, that's financing, So Pam, tell us a little bit about what's been going on. When we were here last week, we had some great news for last week, and then all of a sudden this week it seemed like, well, there was, that we've got this, and then there was and then we're switching going the other way, and there's a backlash for this, and
the biggest word we need to point out right now is volatility. Things are just changing constantly. Right now, there's lots of misinformation flying around about what the mortgage market is doing, what the Fed has done, how the impacts from the stimulus package are going to affect mortgage rates and things like that. Make sure you're using reliable sources. Go to your mortgage professional, look up, reliable sources to do your own research. But right now, big discrepancies are happening among lenders for rates because of the volatility and the uncertainty in the markets. These are the widest intraday swings we've seen ever in the markets. Not just between different lenders. Sometimes the same lender itself can have a wide swing of a point or a day in rates on products. A lot of these same lenders have suspended or are no longer offering certain products, like jumbos and non-QMs are kind of going out the door or being offered at such high rates or with such high discount fees that it doesn't make sense for borrowers to use them. The thing is these are all temporary. They're going to go away. These are just until things normalize in the market. The Fed did step up big time with, like we talked previously about their stimulus package and buying back bonds to help with liquidity and to help bring down interest rates. And that helped some towards the end of the week on Friday and some yesterday. But once again, it's still, rates are just bouncing up and down. I get notifications all day long of re-notification, market deterioration, market improvement, you know, and saying, some saying it's the opposite of the other lender at the same time. I'm like, what? You know, so it's been challenging, but lots of good things are also happening. The Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are relaxing some of their guidelines in regards to appraisals, allowing for desktop reviews or drive-bys for certain types of loans. They're also working around verification of employments, where, you know, making it a little easier if, you know, physical offices not being manned, then an HR employee can email from their email, you know, to verify somebody's employment because they don't have access to records. I already talked about lenders pulling back on some of their products. Some lenders are also no longer allowing us to lock over the weekends because of the volatility. So things are just changing constantly. But the good thing is to know that these things are temporary. They're going to be lifted. One of the more challenging things that's happened is a lot of lenders, not the actual GSEs, not Fannie, or not, you know, not the Federal Housing Administration, not or anything like that, but the lenders have put some overlays on like FHA loans or VA loans and USDA loans, which are typically loans geared towards borrowers that have low credit or don't have very much to put down.
Yeah, for our audience and stuff, maybe we could explain what overlays are.
So those are additional guidelines that a lender is requiring to be met for a borrower to qualify.
I see.
And so it is making it a little more challenging for some of these borrowers who use these loan products to be able to get into houses. It's making it a little harder for them to qualify right now. I fully expect those overlays to be removed as things normalize and rates come down and lenders know what the heck's going on in the world.
Yeah.
But for now, those overlays are there, and it's making things a little difficult for those types of borrowers. But I'm still pre-qualifying people. I'm still locking loans. I'm still, you know, things are continuing on. They're just a little different right now.
Well, yeah.
What are you thinking now in terms of a contract? I know last week it's probably changed from last week. So what would you like to see in a contract, days wise? 45?
Well,
What do you
45 would be ideal. I do have lenders that they prioritize purchases.
Right.
So they're still trying to push those 30-day closings through. I'm padding my locks. I'm not locking on 30 days just to give us time. I'm doing 45 to 60 depending on the contract and the difficulty of the loan. So it's kind of a loan by loan case. But ideally, if we could do a 45-day contract, that would be lovely for us lenders.
Well, I think the good news about that is everybody's really patient with each other. I don't think that doesn't seem to be a problem.
Everybody
And,
gets that.
everybody understands.
There's things that are out of our control.
Right.
The IRS is closed. That's another thing. IRS is closed.
Oh, right.
And so they're allowing borrowers to pull their own tax transcripts and send them directly to the underwriters, which
Wow.
never happened before.
Yeah.
kind of new.
That's going to be interesting.
So they're working really hard to make these things happen, to get these loans closed, to get people into homes. So it's all good things. It's just a little crazy.
Yeah.
There's no other word, right? It's an overused word right now, but I don't know what other word.
It's a real, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Twilight Zone.
It is the Twilight. Oh, that's good.
and there was an article that I shared with the panel here that came from a mortgage guy somewhere in the Midwest that kind of laid it out in layman's terms. Let me see if I can get to the bear with me here. I know I've got it there. So it laid it out in layman terms what's kind of going on, and I think what we'll do is post that link on the Lincoln Real Estate livecast post below in the comments after we're done here. But it kind of gave a pretty good because it has been a little bit of a roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, we're doing this. No, wait a minute, we're doing this. Okay, well, you know what? We got these unintended kind of consequences of this here. Now we got to do. Oh, nobody's buying the mortgages. Okay, well, that, you know, so it's
I
like.
think they said hot potato, which
Yeah,
was
it's like,
it's
okay,
so
let's,
accurate.
hey, let's get on a roller coaster ride. I know we talked about how everything's going to be this morning, but it's 2:00, you know, so.
Totally
so-
different world.
But I
They
think
get
it's
it.
just something to be aware of because people are still going to have, I mean, even in the midst of this, I mean, you know, I think wasn't that what Ann brought up? I mean, people are going to have to, some people maybe have to sell, right?
Yeah, that's one thing Go
It
ahead,
could
Ann.
potentially put people in the position they might have to sell their home, which, you know, I'd like to, you know, basically just reiterate, if they have to do that, they're going to be fine. The market has not dropped off. It's not going to drop off. There's absolutely no prediction whatsoever that coming out of this coronavirus that we're going to have any kind of housing issues.
Right.
It's basically, we're going to pick up where we are, where we've been. There just hasn't been a big change.
And
And that's something I think people need to be aware of in case they do need to sell. They will be okay.
Right. Another thing I wanted to point out was the GSEs. That's like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They did come out. They had planned on launching this later in the year, but they pushed it out earlier. A deferment program that we talked about yesterday a little bit. It's the point is people, if they're worried that they're going to miss payments or going to be in a distressed situation because of employment, call your lender or servicer early. Find out what your options are. The Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are putting this program out there where you can defer 2 payments, but there are rules around it. There are guidelines that you have to follow. Each lender is going to be different with things that they may offer, programs they may offer of how they'll help you through this situation if you have to. But reach out to your servicer, tell them what's going on, let them know if you are in this situation and get options so that you can, you know, keep your home. So you can, you know, do what you need to do to keep your mortgage and stay where you are. So there's options. Just be aware of that.
Just get help. Reach out. Reach out to us. Reach out to your lender. You know, if you want to know how much money you could possibly make selling versus potentially going into a deferment or a forbearance program, please reach out. I think that's one of the struggles when the market collapsed was people were just so overwhelmed and embarrassed and they wouldn't reach out. It was too late.
Right.
You know?
By the time they
And
reached out, we couldn't help them.
Yeah, less than 50% of people reached out. And so there was a lot of people that could have gotten help that didn't. Do not be ashamed. They are there to help you right now.
No, that's great. Did you guys? Go ahead.
There's something I think that we want to maybe mention just to stay ahead of because it came out this morning and I think we're going to start hearing about it in the news. But kind of going back to what Pam said about the feds buying the mortgage-backed securities and kind of freeing up that liquidity, they're going to be pulling back a little bit. And that's actually not a bad thing. It's going to help the lenders. It's going to help the volatility. It's going to bring the market more back in line to where it needs to be. These lenders are inundated. I mean, they're buried right now. Absolutely buried.
Well,
And
I
when
imagine
the feds
so.
were buying up everything, it was actually creating a little bit more, it was adding to that problem. And so you're going to hear about it in the news. It's going to start coming out, but it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. It's going to take these lenders a few weeks to work through their pipelines, and then we're going to get back to a little bit more of a normal kind of, if you can say normal these days.
Yeah. Normal is the 8 a.m. and then
Normal
there's the
doesn't
2
close
p.m.
now.
normal, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever today throws at us.
Yeah, well, there was an interesting development. Let me see if I can get to the screenshot, but there was an article that came up last night. I don't know if you can see this. But Zillow, who was buying a lot of these, you know, they would go direct to the sellers, and they're canceling all their contracts.
Yes.
Which
Have not seen that much in the Denver market yet, just as a sideline because I pulled the stats yesterday.
yeah.
So currently, I don't know how that's going to be next week. I don't know if they're rolling this out, but right now, all of those pendings are still there.
Oh, for their sales, right? And it appeared in the article they were talking about the iBuyer, like on the purchase side.
Right.
Which,
Well, that's what I meant.
oh, that, right.
They're they're
Yeah.
under contracts. I'm not seeing any of those canceled as of yet. But maybe they're going through end of month and seeing how that looks. It'll be interesting to watch that closely.
Well, it will be because, Brian Buffini on one of his podcasts, I mean, this was years ago, he goes, the minute there's some turbulence in the market, these guys are going away. And all of them
didn't take long, did it?
all of them running for cover. And the thing is the veterans, the people that have been around, I mean, we've gone through, housing collapse, we've gone through, the 100% financing, the gift programs, the, if you have a heartbeat, you get a loan, right? Thing. I mean, you're alive. Okay, good. Here, sign here. But we're all still here. And so I just thought that was, but actually canceling the contracts, and I'm like, holy cow, man, these people are, if they had plans or they had to move and they were counting on that to close, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, now what do we do? So if, and I put a post to this effect, and again, just like anything else, if you're one of those people and you're in that spot, don't know what to do, call any of us here, and we'd love to talk through the options with you, because we got enough turmoil going on here. I mean, just going to the store is kind of traumatic, I mean,
well, that's the thing to keep in mind with those publicly held companies too, right? That's why all of those iBuyers, I think all of them are publicly held. So the second things get hard, they will scale way back and fast, as we've seen. So
yeah,
got to make those investors happy.
Yeah. So let's just poll the team here. So what kind of things have you guys been seeing happening that are like good coming out of all of this? I mean, for me, I was like, I saw somebody in the neighborhood and they had like a Zoom happy hour, and I was just like, okay, well, they wouldn't know I wasn't drinking, and I'll just pretend it's vodka, but that kind of stuff. But what are you kind of seeing on the? I mean, we're all in the gloom and doom, but what kind of things are you guys seeing that kind of warm your heart, so to speak?
I'm seeing a lot of neighbors helping neighbors, especially neighbors helping elderly neighbors that maybe don't want to go to the store or go out in public. Hey, I'll grab you whatever you need from the store. I'll mow your lawn, things like that. I see a lot of neighbors helping neighbors, and I think that's awesome.
Lots of families out enjoying family time.
Yes.
See a lot of new dogs that I haven't seen in the neighborhood.
Hey, wait a minute. Oh yeah, seeing a lot of fostering, and I saw somebody at the park the other day playing in the horseshoe pit, like actually playing horseshoes. When was the last time anybody saw that happen?
What's horseshoes?
Yeah, never. That made me so happy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I've done a couple of virtual happy hours, which was fun. I'm calling my mother more, which shame on me, but I just find myself definitely wanting to reach out a lot more.
But are you Skyping her?
No, we got to get a little further. Mom, if you're watching, we got to work on that. Yeah. But yeah, and just our book club is meeting tonight virtually. We're doing that via Zoom. So
yeah,
it's. I find I'm looking out my window a lot more, like what's going on. I'm definitely become a nosier neighbor. That's just a symptom of
Mrs.
being
Kravitz.
home alone.
Yeah.
I can tell you, when I go to the store now, I'm just so. It's nice to get out first and foremost, but when I talk to people, it's like overly nice, overly, oh, you can't reach down on the top shelf, let's help you with that. I mean, and it's like, why wasn't I doing that before? I mean, I was always nice, but this is a different level. And I think that's where maybe something good like this will come out of our new normal.
Well,
I think lots of good will come out of as a new normal.
Absolutely.
And I take into account the fact that these people working in the grocery stores, I mean, look at the volume they're doing. They are just they're buried. It's like, be really nice. Just
Right.
don't
Yes.
be mean. My husband ran into somebody at Lowe's the other day, and they were actually cussing out the cashier. And I'm
Not
thinking,
okay.
not okay. No, not okay. They're there to help you, and they're trying to help you, and it's not their fault. So I'm seeing a lot of that. Just, I've been talking to people I don't know in the grocery store.
Please,
From a
please
distance.
talk to me.
Stay there.
away.
Stay there. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I've had some very interesting conversations in the last week, but
yeah.
it's really nice to know that that's still there, because sometimes you get so busy in your daily life that you don't think about those kinds of things
Well,
and how simple it is.
and I got to tell you, the whole Skype, iPhone, FaceTime thing. I mean, I was never really a big fan of it, but when this started happening, I mean, I Skyped my sister yesterday for like an hour,
Yeah.
That doesn't
yeah.
sound,
Awesome.
but yeah, but at any rate, and I was like, oh, it's so cool. I saw my sister, my brother-in-law, and kind of adjusting. It's like, oh, I got to text them ahead of time so we can all set up our call and everything. But that was like, well, I'm digging that. And then the ability to share your screen. I mean, just from a professional standpoint, working with people on Skype. Now I got to work remotely, and I'm like, wow, look at this, man. They'll share the screen, and I can step them through how to e-sign stuff online, And I'm like, I didn't even know it would do that, Usually I just sit on the phone and, and talk them through and the whole thing. I'm like, what? Why didn't I do this years ago? But
People are learning all sorts of new skills right now.
Well,
yeah.
and I think systems, I know there's a few systems I would have loved to put in place 2 years ago that I actually have time to do. Like if you take advantage of some of the quiet time, I'm trying. I'm not the best at it. My house could be cleaner, but I am trying to implement some things that
Yeah.
have been sitting on my desk for literally years. So
Yeah, well, I'm just going to share this with so we got a little compliment here from one of our
Greg.
peeps. Yeah.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, no, we're trying to do what we can. It's like when all this came out, it was like, what the heck are we going to do? And we don't know what's going on. And so we all started watching what's going on. It's like, man, the best we can do is kind of share that with our peeps and stuff. And yeah, we're kind of I'm not seeing many more comments here on these feeds now. It may be that if they came in and we didn't see them, guys, I'm sorry. We'll answer them next week.
we'll get better.
We'll get better at it. It's just the feed is going out 6 different ways, but the comments don't come back in the same way. So it's like, all right, I got to look at 2 feeds here and 1 feed here to see who's saying what. But and the thing is, if you're watching this later, leave a question or something in the comments anyway, and we can address that either in the next update. I think it's important to try to, this thing is changing so fast, but to really kind of see what's going on. I think we're probably running up against time here, guys, and maybe I'll pull the panel and say, okay, what are your kind of takeaways that we want to let our peeps know about? And so how about we start with Ann?
Well, I go back to one thing you said when we were talking the other day, when you said, looking at the numbers, I would expect to see this just fall off a cliff. And
Yeah.
that stuck with me, and that is absolutely not what we're seeing.
Right.
The numbers are actually suggesting the otherwise. Otherwise, we are still in a very strong, healthy housing market. That's not going to be the problem. The problem will be getting everybody back to work once all the quarantines are lifted, and we just have to kind of work through that. But they're going to come out with another stimulus package at some point, and they're going to help jumpstart this right back to kind of where we were.
What about you, Jen?
I'm just going to keep it simple. And it's something when I sent out our guidance, the company guidance last Friday, and essentially it's be fearless, but be smart.
Yeah.
And just, we are going to be okay. There is a lot of uncertainty out there, and we will talk through anybody with that, but let's be fearless and be positive.
Well, there's a lot of things that we can do to work around a lot of the obstacles that are in our way, and I think we're and I'm talking audience now, but we've been developing ways, can we get in there and look at this thing virtually? Can we, we can use Skype to communicate. We can plan ahead. You know what? This might be a great time to take care of some stuff that, you now have the time to update or career. As far as I don't know if Home Depot's still open or not.
They are.
Oh, they
They
are.
are.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, that kind of stuff. How about you, Pam?
From all the reading I've been doing, economists and economies have slashed some of their forecasts for the next, couple of quarters, but it's a blip. And then the last quarter of the year, they've all expected to fully come back and stronger. And so that's what we need to remember, is that this is a blip. We're going to get through it. The Fed, if they wouldn't have stepped in, it would have been a lot worse than it is. They've done a great job. They're continuing to monitor it. We're going to get through this. People are going to return to work eventually. So we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Things are still moving. Things are going to be okay.
Yeah, and I'm kind of singing the same song as everybody else here. We don't know what's going to happen. We'll be keeping an eye on what's happening in the market. But from the shock, I think Ian had mentioned. It's like where's the demand shock? Where's all this stuff? But it's not falling off a cliff. Doesn't mean it won't change. I think it's reasonable to expect, just with the conditions. We would probably see it slow down, and our data showed that. It slowed down, but it didn't slow down to where you get one showing in 90 days. We're right here. People still getting multiple offers. Those stats from the last 5 days, Jen. That's an amazing amount of homes that have gone under contract, and so the thing about real estate is it's not like the stock market where you get instant feedback, and you can do all stuff. Real estate moves a little bit slower. But the things that had caused us problems in the past, I just wasn't seeing. If you guys remember, was it when Countrywide went belly up? That was like in September, right, or August. In September, just done. Just done. So, but with that, I think unless I see any comments here, which I don't, and if you put one there and we didn't get to you, we will. Sorry about that. We're getting that worked out. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, if anybody has any questions, reach out to any of us. I know that especially people that retired or going to be retiring. This can probably be a little thing in the back of your mind. But any of us would be happy to discuss this with you, and I look forward. I hope you'll tune in with us next week, because as we all mentioned here, this stuff, it's changing. It changed a lot from last week to this week. I'll post that article in the comments, and look forward to seeing you guys soon. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Bye.
Have a great week,
Bye.
everyone.